to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings here in Mendham. So I have been watching the Volcano, and so I have this little image that switches back and forth between the crater and the current updated every 2 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever or so images. Anyway, so I've been watching that, and so I'll switch probably to the USGA. Has some crappy video of some of the lava and stuff, and the government videos are pretty bad actually, except for the ones from helicopters or from drones. Those are pretty good, but there's good videos out there from civilians, but they're all copyrighted in one way or another, so I won't bother risking anything. But anyway, it has been interesting to watch. I mean, it's horrible for the people lavaed, but it's just it's just an event. It compels me to watch. So anyway, but what compels us, what interests us, it's all programming. So this is going to be a robot kind of video, and the irony of programmed robots arguing with each other about programming, and about what the right program is to run, the right adding of the numbers, the right sequence of numbers, let's say. And there is a right answer to the truth. There's a truth, and it can be accurately stated what it exactly is, and you can state it right and completely. Like there's a best way to describe this utensil. It's more than just a pen, or it's more than just a magic marker. So there's a certain number of perfect amount of words in which you describe all of its nuance, all of this significant nuance. You don't miss any important details, and yet you don't have any extra bits, and you have it all right. You don't have wrong things in there. And I think that's just a fact of our reality. Is we can say it right, we can think it right, and then we can say it right. Or we can think it wrong, and we can say it wrong. We can understand poorly. And I think obviously there's a lot of that in the world. A lot of that right here, really close. And so I'm a robot who's recognizing this conflict between how we think and what we think. And I don't see any reason for it, because it seems to me that the facts add up pretty, logically. The whole story of the evolution of our existence, and pretty much that's the evolution of our behavior that is relevant to our impulses, to our chemical disposition, what our feely bits are doing, what the hormones, the ganodes and such, the secretors compel you to be interested in, or at least create the feelings make you an offer you cannot refuse. They extort you into compliance. Sometimes that just means you have to eat a chocolate bar. Sometimes that means you murder your neighbor. It just depends on programming, and what weapons in your hand at the time a certain chemical arises, in combination with a few thoughts that maybe you've been twisting in your brain for 50 years, and all of a sudden decided to do something about it. So it's quite it's quite pathetic, is what it is. So, I did have, I took some video of the garden, and somebody suggested maybe a walk and talk. And the problem is that when I use the gimbal, the thing that steadies the little camera, it picks up the noise. So, I was trying to make a less jittery walk and talk. And, well, anyway. Then, so I just used the camera, and I was going to just play the video of the camera. And, I have an SD card. It's, a Chinese SD card, micro. And it says 32 gigabytes, but no, it's as soon as you go over 3 gigabytes, the card writes all wrong, and you can't read it. So I forgot about that. So I lost the video. And then just trying to mess with the card and try to put it in a different card reader and see if that would work and all of that. The little spring on the card shot the card across the room. It's just one of those days where some things went okay and other things just didn't. So anyway, I do plan eventually to have presentation imagery that's somewhat related to what I'm talking about, or at least related to me in some way. But anyway, it shouldn't really matter. But it's nice, and sometimes somebody's talking and they're just going blah 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 blah, and you can just watch the pictures instead. I know that feeling. I don't think you should have that feeling listening to me, but it's probably happens for some people. I'm just not that interesting or something. So this is the USGS video of the volcano. They just have little tiny clips, and they don't even have it on the camera on a tripod. I mean, it's just little kind of bullshit. You're just saying, geez, they can't even get that right. I mean, this isn't that challenging. That's the best I can do. Really isn't. It should be able to handle it. I don't know why there's so much at the bottom there. I don't like that much. I don't like the top of the video showing either, but that's a little bit irritating. Well, I can't fix it now, so fuck it. We'll live with it. There's all these little things we do throughout our day, all these little aggravations, and they all have to do with our programming, our reactions. Some people walk into a house and first thing they notice is, ooh, there's dust on the floor or something. And somebody else will walk in and they'll notice curtains. They're obsessed with curtains and how clean the windows are. And other people, it's like a smell, cigarettes or, a dog or something, it's ooh, ooh, ooh. But it's all just it's all just crap that's been dumped on you, in a sense, your personality, through a bunch of events that you really didn't have much, any control over. I mean, you're just a byproduct of circumstances, and none of the circumstances were of your creation. They're all circumstances that you're a byproduct of. And even your thoughts and what you think of as your imagination is a byproduct of those circumstances. Without certain circumstances, you wouldn't have the imagination. You could argue that Michelangelo couldn't have done the David unless he had certain experiences and certain encounters with reality that gave him this image. And that's just the way it is. We're all dependent on our exposure to the world, and that exposure will decide what we fall into in the future, what more exposure we'll have, whether we fall into stupid traps, whether we do something dumb, or whether we do something smart, or whether we get lucky, or whether we get unlucky. It's all crap. It doesn't have anything to do with us personally at all. We're just the victim of our circumstance. The circumstance of the universe and our birth into it at a specific moment in time in a specific location, and it's just decided what you're going to end up, banging into, and what you're going to look like after you banged into those things. And so again, there's a certain irony in me saying, here I am trying to convince you that I have a program. My program is just as incidental to the environment as yours is, but I'm quite sure my program is a better arrangement of the pieces, the puzzle pieces, the numbers. They're in the right order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, where your pieces are all fucked up because you believe in singularities or gods or angels or fairies or some other bibble babble, happily ever after, or oh, it's all worth it, or it's okay to impose on children. That's what they're for, to be imposed on. I don't have to have a permission slip to play Dr. Frankenstein. I was given the natural hardware, therefore I have a right. I don't have to explain myself or defend my judgment. Of course you do, when somebody asks you to, like I'm going to. It's the question is open. Are you an asshole? I'll make the accusation, yes, you're an asshole. Now it's your responsibility to counter-argue how I've miscalculated and you're not really escaping an asshole, when I'm quite sure you are, and the evidence points right to it, because you don't get the numbers right at all. You don't have anything in the right order. You have stupid priorities and stupid notions of how things work. The wheels in your head are square, triangular. They're bent the wrong way. You haven't shaped your internal model to conform to the actual evidence of the world we exist in and what we're a byproduct of. So, again, it's just a very curious circumstance for one robot to have to explain to other robots that I need to impact you, okay, and I would like to just punch it into you. I'd like to just do it quickly, just get it done with, just give you a good beating. Just like you whack a TV where the tubes are a little bit, they're not connecting quite right, so you give it a whack and it connects and the electricity goes through and it works again. That's how you people are in some respects. You just need a little bit of whack, to get it. And reality needs to whack you with a little bit of bad luck, and then maybe you'll appreciate, oh, this imposing thing isn't too smart. I don't care for it when it happens to me. Something like that. You need a taste of it before you can know how bad it is. And to appreciate the horror and the imposition and the nasty and all that crap. And the futility and stupidity of it. Once you have to admit you're just a robot. You're just a mechanical reflex, like a knee jerk. It's just more complicated. It's just more knee jerks in the process. So instead of one knee jerk, your brain has like 7 million knee jerks. And they jerk based on all these simple little reflexes. You have a reflex to the color red and a reflex to the color green, and you have a reflex to girls with blonde hair or girls with big udders, whatever the thing is that triggers you, and the triggers are just knee jerks. And so we're just a big pile of reflexive jerks. We're jerky. And there's this argument that if you're jerking the right way, you'll do something perhaps marvelous. And you do it wrong, you'll just make a mess. And your impact and your presence here on Earth will not be beneficial. You will leave the place worse than you got it. You'll stink up the joint. You'll just make smells, and they won't be good ones. And logically, I think 98% of people probably, if you put that to them, what do you want to do? Do you want to leave the earth less well off for your presence or better off for your presence? Most people, by a pretty clear majority, I think, would say, well, if they both cost 50 cents, yes, I'd rather do the not fail thing. So if I can be not a failure, yes, I vote for that if it's free. As long as it doesn't require any extra work, not failing, then yes, I'll take some not failing. And in some respects, it's really is that simple. Once you've decided not to be a failure, then you understand that, well, what is failure? Failure is not appreciating when you're being an asshole, and not recognizing when you're taking a stupid risk, and not really thinking enough about something and just doing it kind of sloppy. And we know how to eliminate a lot of the errors that create failure, the miscalculations that create failure. So this isn't that complex a process. And I would argue that if we look at our lives mechanically, we can see that keep it simple, stupid. The only thing the Buddhists have sort of right is this idea that the game is a head game, and really what you're trying to do is defeat the enemy, which is this biological mechanism full of impulse, full of knee jerks, full of chemical reactions, and you want to try to use you don't use it. You want to have your brain reflexively react to circumstances with this notion of caution, and to say, yes, did I think twice? It's as simple as looking twice before you cross the street. It's not that you're making some profound change, and you don't necessarily do that, right? Somebody suggests to you, look both ways, or look twice, measure twice, cut once. These little cautionary things. The apple a day keeps the doctor away. Little bits of wisdom that will give you the power to make fewer mistakes. To have a bad jerk, to jerk badly or poorly. All that sort of is required is that you jerk slowly, that you let lots of jerks happen in your brain, and you figure out they balance each other, and they take the urgency out of action, and give you perspective, give you time to say, maybe I don't need a fourth chocolate bar, in 5 minutes. Maybe I don't need to do this. Maybe I don't need to do that as much as I think I need to. And that if I really think about it and say, well, if I don't do it for 5 minutes, I really won't die and nothing critically horrible will happen. I'll probably forget that I had the impulse at all, and I can slide my way past it. But again, this isn't you doing something to yourself. This is yourself changing right in front of your eyes. So when somebody says, look both ways, and you think, well, that's not too much trouble, and if it's going to prevent me getting hit by a car, which would be really trouble and messy and unpleasant, this is logical, I'll keep this. So that's a keeper. And you sit there and you take these little bits of wisdom and knowledge, and you keep them. You say, yes, I'm keeping that one. And it's going to keep coming up. It's going to, its odor will, it's like a fish. Okay, they all smell like fish or something. They all have a unique odor, and they will keep rising to your conscious level and floating to the surface, and you'll see them and say, oh, I remember this. Think twice. Measure twice, cut once. Yes, let's do that. Let's try to do less damage. Let's try not to be a drunk, and let's try not to be a fool, and let's try not to be an asshole, and let's try not to be a selfish cunt, and let's try not to be a bigot, and let's try not to be, and you can just go down all the lists of all the things you can evade, all the foolishness, all the assholery, by just having these little mental tricks to, trick yourself out of being an asshole. Now, you can only do so much. Your personality is your personality. You're going to, if you're aggressive, you're aggressive. If you like gambling, you like gambling. It's not going to you can just eliminate those impulses. I'm just saying that the only weapon you have, the only weapon that exists, is the weapon of your acceptance of a rule, of a idea that will impose guilt or some sense of importance and necessity that you not be an asshole and all that kind of crap. So in these conversations over the years, I've attempted to point out what the right order of logic is here, that we do know some facts about our biological origin, and all those facts are pretty much exclusively negative. That this is a game of Jeopardy that's being played for no good reason, merely to, in some way or other, create organisms that are suited to an environment. Like, there wouldn't be ticks if there weren't vulnerable skin to attach to and suck blood out of. If everything's blood vessels were behind a rhinoceros skin or something, then there would be no ticks. They wouldn't exist. They wouldn't be fit. So fitness doesn't have anything to do with really being cool or, and fantastically well developed or formed. It just has to do with, is there something that, are you designed well to exploit what's available to exploit? We don't have any Martians to exploit. So a person could be very good at exploiting Martians because he could speak very well Martian, and he had all the right Martian gestures to convince the Martians to give them all their money and to steal, so he could steal it. Now, he'd be the fittest if there was that world, but there's not that world. And in this world, he could be a complete failure because he's not too good at human gestures and talking to humans and fooling and tricking them out of their money. So this idea that evolution is building something so that's going in some positive direction is silly. It's just going in a direction completely circumstantial. And I sort of use this analogy that even if you thought of a real gladiator war, you could sort of understand that it's like horse racing. Yeah, they had that triple crowny thing. Some horse did it, the three races. And you could design a horse to be big, but then there's a downside to big, because in a muddy track, big horse is going to lose. So there's lots of calculations you can do where, depending on the circumstance, what the optimum configuration is will change. So like in a gladiator war, could be that being really big and heavy, well, then some little fast guy could beat you. He could stab you before the big heavy guy could even get his, his muscle bound. He can't even bend his arms all the way. So you can see that it's really not just going to be about strength, it's going to be about agility and speed and all these different factors. And that there could possibly be a circumstance where, midgets win because the gladiator's gotten so big and powerful, that he can't even bend over far enough to kill the midget or something like that. So the contest will never be about creating some perfect warrior. The perfection will just be what's the opposition it has to beat. What's the form of the thing that has to be defeated. And you can, like I said, sort of see that in how things evolve and how they don't. Like when you get to something like crocodile and most of the insects, they haven't changed a bit in hundreds of millions of years. No significant change at all, because they're suited to what they're doing. And as long as what they need to do doesn't change, that is, there isn't some dramatic change in the organisms eating them or the ones they have to catch and eat, they're well made for that one purpose. And until the purpose changes, until the world changes, and they can always adapt to the changes, evolve, but I'm just saying most of the insects haven't had to, because they were so, they were proven over millions of years to be very effective at surviving, competing in the environment, and, taking advantage. But there's nothing optimum about them except in very negative ways. They're really good thieves, so they're really good at drilling holes in you and stealing your blood or doing some other nasty thing. They're not. There's no economy to their success. It doesn't have any. Doesn't clean the condo. Doesn't leave the earth a better place. Doesn't leave the life forms of the future in a better condition. It doesn't do any of that stuff. And as intelligent computers, we should be able to calculate pretty easily that that's what we need to do with our existence. That our existence isn't just about making this little brain, this 3 pounds in here, happy, comfortable, not terrified, let's say, not tormented. So I won't even go for happy. I'll just say I just want to be untormented. But it's not just about me being untormented. It's about all the other brains not being tormented also. That's the real efficiency of our existence. And if there's things I'm doing in my life, like being an insanely stupid, selfish cunt Republican or something, then somebody should point it out to me, because I'm doing all this damage. I'm causing all this suffering for no good reason. And yes, Democrats cause suffering too, but not nearly as much. Their dumb ideas aren't nearly as dumb as the dumb Republican ideas. Because all the Republican ideas have this stupid, idiotic theme song of, what's good for me is good for you, la 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 la. Even though that's never been true in the whole history of living things. It's just such a stupid sell. I'll be selfish and you'll all benefit from it. I mean, come on. It can't work. And just simple arguments you can make. I mean, the whole inheritance argument is just so obvious, and it's just, the hypocrisy and duplicity of defending. We just had the Triple Crown winner horse. Should we have had the race where only past Triple Crown winners could be in the race? Would that make a better horse race? Would that guarantee us a better winner? No, we know that doesn't work. Should we give some horses had cheats down the track, go halfway down the track, and let's ring the bell, drop the gate? We would think that would be silly. Why even bet if you're going to let some horses go halfway down the track? Come on. A halfway down the track head start? Oh, please. In a competition, where winner takes all in most cases? Oh, that seems silly. Well, it's nonsense. So again, these are tons of these subjects that I've gone over all these years, the right to die and all kinds of crap, and every single one of them has a logical solution, a best solution, and most humans aren't anywhere close to getting anywhere near the right answer, the best answer, and they keep just advocating for their schlocky, sellout, compromise crap, and they don't even want to fix any of it. You point out how, part of the reason why we can't solve anything is because we have these sellout political parties that are just special interest, the special interest of the religious kooks and the neocon warmongering money whores. And then you got the other side, the welfare whores and the illegal alien defenders and the tree hugger loonies on the other side, and just all special interests. So there's no way these two parties could solve any problem. They can just be worse or worser, and that's all we got is worse and worser. And you point out how we can fix it, though. We can have a instant runoff voting, and we can get rid of this whole geography thing where I get represented by my geography, and the congressman I hate can take my vote and say he's my representative. Well, why shouldn't he have to get positive votes to get into Congress? Why should somebody be able to steal half the representation of the people in the country? Why should half the people have to lose a representative election? You're electing a representative. There's no reason to force half the people to go without. No reason, no good reason, except there's people who see great advantage in stealing your vote, stealing your voice, keeping you silent. And that's what the majority wants to do, is silence most of the majorities, keep them out of the Congress. And don't allow us to vote our interest, not their special interest. So anyway, you can fix all this stuff, but no one wants to hear about a solution. They just naysay and nitpick, and that's all there are. Most of the computers, most of the little human robots on this planet are just naysayers and nitpickers, and they're ignorant of the facts. They talk way beyond their qualifications. They don't know what they're talking about. They haven't taken any time to understand what they're talking about. They just have these simplistic Homer Simpson frickin' opinions that are just based on some, it looks like a donut. That looks like a donut. That's all. Silly, superficial perceptions of reality. And it should be called out. And again, I've said this before, the real blight of the human race are the intellectuals, because they haven't done a damn thing. They don't have the balls to stand up and say, those people be dumb. They need to be stopped. Qualified people should be driving the bus, not unqualified people. People who have done some work to understand how buses work and how roads work and how tires work and how brakes work and how steering wheels work. Those are the people who should be driving, not any old asshole who hasn't spent 5 minutes of their life analyzing what it is to be alive, what their responsibilities here are. They're just takers. They're just saying, where's my donut? Donut. That's Calabunga. Donut. They're idiots. And they got to be called idiots. And they got to be forced, they got to be humiliated into recognizing they are talking beyond their capacity. And, they do need a keeper. And they've got to concede that, fairness requires us to be tested. And if you fail the tests, you fail the tests. Citizenship should be, the responsibility to decide what's going to get done and how it's going to get done. There should be a level of competence. You should be able to have to answer a few questions before you decide the fate of the sentient life on Earth. And that's what we're deciding with our stupid laws. We're deciding what gets tortured and how much it gets tortured and all that shit. And all these bad policies like, well, let's take a bunch of cats and do surgery on them and then throw them back in the wild to get killed horribly. Illogical, stupid things. Solar panels on roofs. Just fucking retardedly stupid, inefficient crap that shouldn't happen in a society that, in a civilization that has recognized that the smart computer should make the decisions, and the lazy, fun-seeking, adventure-seeking, risk-taking, drunk ones shouldn't. Ugh. It's probably enough. So, so I try to do a live room, maybe a couple this week, because I didn't do one last week, and I probably should have. And I will try to, once again, up the, the video performance, something more relevant, and try to do a few presentation style videos where there's talking points and little simple writing and words with donuts, maybe some donuts next to the right words, and some like donuts with like soggy, like a donut that falls in a sink full of dirty dishes. Oh, that's bad. Donut and dirty dishes. Ew. Just so you understand what's good and what's bad. Happy donut, dry, nice and crispy and fresh. Donut in the sink, donut in the toilet bowl. Ooh. Maybe you can get that there's good stuff and right stuff, and there's not just any stuff. Everything isn't the same. There's smart and there's stupid. There's good and there's bad. There's right and there's wrong. You dumb cunts. I shouldn't have said that, but whatever. It's one of my reflexes I have to work on. One of the many reflexes the jerk in me. The jerks. I have a few jerks that need to be they need another jerk put in the way. They need to be diverted into some other expression of reflex, something nicer, more pleasant, and more encouraging. I need to turn some of my sticks into carrots, kind of thing. I have to be more sensitive, understanding that more flies with sugar than vinegar, or some other kind of cliches. And like I said, they're all cliches, but some of them happen to be absolutely true. And but also, it does work both ways, and in the sense that different strategies can get you to the same place with a certain amount of similar economy. Not every road is a detour to nowhere. Not every road is a road to nowhere. Some of them do go somewhere, and some of them go pretty close to very efficient. It's not that I'm rationalizing or excusing my behavior. I'm just saying that maybe I am right. Maybe I am doing it right. Maybe this is the right strategy. It's so hard to know. That's the real problem. Because we can't see the future. We can only see that in the real world, sometimes you do need to hit a dog, so to speak. I don't mean hit it with a brick or something. I just mean you need to give it a bad experience to make sure it doesn't get run over, to make sure something worse doesn't happen to it. You got to give it a little bad to prevent really bad. Because if you do it with just carrots, okay, it doesn't quite send the message that that's bad. It's saying this is good, but it's not really saying that's bad. And sometimes you need to say that's bad, or you fall in the trap. And once you're in the trap, you're roadkill. So anyway, a little added bit. So Volcano really is incredible. This thing shoots up in the air 200 feet. Massive amounts of earth being created, so rock anyway. This is quite an amazing thing to be happening just mere hundreds of feet from where people are actually still living. It's really quite amazing to me. Compelling. I guess I can't say it's amazing. I mean, I've heard of volcanoes. I've seen volcanoes. You've never seen them this well, though. The high definition. Some of the video of this stuff. There's some video that is so spectacular because it's a better definition. And you can just see the stuff goes up and it changes color and it comes down. And it's just so, it's like watching tropical fish or something. It really is watchable as an event. It's different every second. It just keeps doing things. Lava lamp, maybe. Right? Just kind of a joke. It's one hell of a lava lamp. Yeah. So anyway, I think that's probably enough, right? I guess I'll post a link. I did a physics room, with other people, and it's kind of funny. I've done it before, and it's all a bunch of tinfoil hatters, and they all think they're, right. And it is just a kind of a funny dynamic. But I'll have to put the time code in because you really don't want to listen to the guy for 20 minutes, the boring guy, and just talking that, crazy crap. And so it doesn't get funny it doesn't get interesting until we start arguing with each other about arguing and all that. So it is a little bit funny. So I'll post a link to it. It doesn't get any views. Nobody's, it's just more evidence that people are really stupid. That you can't even find a real conversation about anything scientific or fact-based or rational. It just, our civilization is such a failure. It really is. We're so underperforming. We're so grotesquely humiliating our intelligence. It's like we're running Windows, only getting half a computer we should have. We're probably less than half. So anyway, till the next time. And such. I don't think there's anything else. There probably is, but I have just so much to do. I mean, the gardening thing takes up a lot of time, and the physics thing, and then I'm selling the property again. I might make a video about that. We'll see. Blah blah blah. I got stuff to. Well, anyway, there's just a lot of stuff, and I'm also getting old, which I don't like. There's just so many things going on. It seems like there's an awful lot going on, and I have so much junk. I have so much stuff that I want to do. So many experiments I haven't done. So much, and I just can't seem to get all this stuff done. But anyway, not your problem. Well, it's sort of your problem because I'm not, I'm supposed to be making great videos and I'm supposed to be interesting and I'm supposed to do all this stuff and I'm not doing it. So in that sense, it is your problem. So I'll try. The program's running. I feel guilty. I feel I'm underperforming. I have to do better. But the fact that I feel that and I sense that doesn't mean I necessarily will, and that's unfortunate. But I'm working on it. Let's say that. I'm thinking of it. It's on my mind. I'm trying to correct for it in a sense, but I'm also trying to make excuses to do way more than, I'm multitasking beyond the capacity of my RAM. And you can't do that. And but I want to keep trying to do it. It's just pushing your luck. It's like I want to do 32 megabytes or something, and my SD card will only do 3. Even though it says 32 on it, it's only doing 3. Damn Chinaman. Really, I've gotten so much stuff from China that actually does work. It's the only thing I ever really, it's the last thing I can think of anything that was, I paid $2 for it, and it disappointed. So what? 1 out of 500 sales. So anyway, Till next time and such.